You got this and you got that, and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, our loose cannons in the house. What is poppin', ladies? How you guys doing today?
Hey.
Yo.
We're doing good. I mean, I don't speak for both of us, but
Yeah, I'm good.
yeah, we're good.
I'm excited. We're going to talk about the big game today. We also have a special guest in the building. You know, he comes to us once a week, it seems now. What's poppin', Jesse? How are you doing today?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
You do this, man. You do like.
What do you mean? He got in late. He's got to throw it right to him.
The
Get
guy
in
doesn't
there.
even have a fucking microphone in front of him.
Yeah,
You're
he's
just like,
good.
oh yeah, we also have Jesse Sylvia
I
here.
mean,
like,
don't worry. We're going to throw it right to him.
Guapo,
He's got
I
it.
need you.
man, never would have thought I'd see the day where Jesse's camera is actually set for him being too tall.
Did you go for
are.
a swim? Like, why?
Hey, Guapo.
Are those swim trunks and sandals? Is that why you were late?
I'm pretty sure he just came straight out of the pool with the pop.
Listen, Nikki, when
Yeah.
you're 6'8", you get to wear whatever you want.
My bad.
All right, you know the routine here, Jesse. You're gonna need that mic violating your mouth. Just act like you've done it before.
Oh,
you know?
that's not the only thing that violates me down here.
That's what I'm saying. You know, act like you've been there before.
But your feet are hanging off the chair. He looks tall, though.
How low does this camera shoot? They can't get my feet, right?
no,
All right. Everything that Nikki says is a lie.
that's facts.
I'm being gaslit.
Welcome back to the Only Friends podcast, the place where gaslighting is the main theme and poker is the secondary function. So for anybody who doesn't know or isn't familiar, the Stars Big Game was a very popular TV show pre-Black Friday where they would pull, you know, I don't even want to say rank amateurs. They just pulled people off the fucking street. And they were like, hey, you're going to play 150 hands with pros and we're going to give you $100,000 to do so. Feel free to try to win some money. They rebooted that this past December at the NAPT stop, which was also a bit of a reboot this year at Resorts World. And they held open auditions. And somehow you two managed to find your way.
Both of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just...
We didn't think both of us were going to make it, but we were praying and hoping and trying to manifest it. And I guess our manifestations worked. Also, we had Caitlin do like a moon ritual. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, you had to, it wasn't like we waltzed in there. We're like, la, 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 give us the job. We had to win a shootout. So we had to first prove some skill somewhat. I actually asked Jesse for advice right before that shootout because I had never played a shootout before. I don't know if I even followed his advice, but I mostly prayed to the luck gods and wore my Rampage. I wore my Rampage luck box sweatshirt, and I said I'm just using that strat, and I won with pocket fours, which is like Rampage's hand. So yeah, we both had to win that first, and then come back for 2 rounds of auditions.
Was it a one and done? You only had one shot at the...
Yeah. One
Shootout?
table, one shot.
Yeah. So anyone could sign up for this. There were 180 seats. And so we, you know, showed up the day before, signed up for it. I honestly was just so excited they were bringing this show back. It has been like my favorite poker show to watch, even though I wasn't really in the scene back then. Like when I got in, I found that show and I just watched all the episodes and I loved it. And I always wished that they would bring it back. So I was just so stoked that they were bringing it back. And the only reason I knew about it was because like we were doing episodes of Only Friends on it, and so it's like, oh, they kind of kept it on the DL that they were doing these like big game auditions. But I tried to like, you know, put the word out. I think because one thing they were really hush hush about is like if you won the shootout, like there's 20 people that won the shootout because there were 20 tables. You got a main event ticket, like for a $1,600 main event
sick.
ticket.
Yeah.
Right. So like they didn't want a bunch of pros to show up
Right.
and like scoop these main event tickets.
They also didn't want a lot of pros to show up in general, because if they
Yeah.
just get stuck with pros, like that's not really the point,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I mean, you're kind of a pro.
I mean,
You really flew under the radar in this one.
I fly under the radar everywhere.
Like this was, I think because you had to win a shootout, it does change the qualifications of the loose cannon just a bit. We were kind of talking about this off air, but in the past, like a lot of the loose cannons, I mean,
Well, they actually had to win a satellite online.
did they?
Yeah, and it was like a 2,000.
Man, online was fucking soft. Back
They had
My
to, it was
God.
like those like super satellites where there were like 2,000 people or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
So like, you know, anyone like
I
randomly.
mean, to be fair, that makes sense. Usually the winner of those things are exactly like
Yeah.
the guys we saw for the loose cannon. But yeah, I mean, I think like, I don't know what the final 20 group looked like or what the 180 or so people that showed up for the sit and goes looked like, but I saw a lot of people tweeting about it saying they were going to go play. And, you know, they were pros
Yeah.
or grinders. Like,
well, there were a few that got disqualified for being like too.
Ronnie
good?
Bardah was
Yeah,
one.
Ronnie Bardah.
Yeah, I don't know
okay,
who
yeah,
else.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Although Ronnie would be great
Yeah.
for the show.
Right, that's the thing. Yeah, he would have.
But yeah, maybe he, well, he probably doesn't want to just fire off 50K, but I was gonna say maybe he could just play the show otherwise.
He did in the past, right? Wasn't that how he?
The shark, the
He played the Shark
cage
Tank.
one, the shark, yeah, the
I'm
shark cage
sorry.
one.
That's what is
Yeah.
that, like a 10K sit and go or something?
That's when like
I
Miss
never
Paul-
understood the structure, but yes, it was when Miss Finland
Yeah,
absolutely
folded trips or
ruined
something.
him.
Yeah. Oh, it's actually the greatest.
So good.
It's like a top 5 poker hand.
Oh yeah,
It's
I mean
incredible.
I've seen it for sure
Yeah.
because just getting in the industry, there's like certain videos that pop up, and yeah, that was one of the first clips I saw.
I mean, it doesn't hurt that she's probably
Super hot.
one of the hottest girls I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like that face
Yeah.
is necessary regardless. And on top of the fact that like he has trips there and makes a huge laydown, she just has ace high.
So
Well,
funny.
it's so beautiful because he's in his mind, like he's spitting game and
Right.
yeah.
he's gonna win this big pot with trips, and then she check jams river, and he's like, "Oh my god, I might lose this pot." And then he folds, and she shows him a bluff,
And he
then
has to go
he's-
to the cage because I think those are like the rules or whatever.
No way that face could bluff.
I never understood like the actual structure of that though. Like I didn't know if it was a tournament or cash games or like what the end result was supposed to be. It was very confusing. The big game is much simpler. You go, you get staked. Any dollars that you win past your buy-in are yours to keep, and you're forced to play 100, 200, sometimes 400 with a mix of pros and amateurs.
Yeah, and it's a pot bet.
Pot limit pre.
Pot limit
Yeah.
pre, yeah.
Speaking of that, I guess. Well, let's actually talk more about the lineups first and foremost. Which of you do you think got the softer lineup?
Me for sure.
It's interesting because you got even if you want to claim that you got the softer lineup,
Maybe not
you
soft.
you got the harder lineup to navigate.
Yeah.
because they're all going
Maniacs.
nuts, and you
Yeah.
have one bullet.
Right.
Yeah.
So not softer. It was just more like so I feel like Lily's just had like super sharp like
Yes.
pros. Like the original show, I feel like the amateur was the loose cannon splashing off money that's free, and then they were like surrounded by like sharp pros that were gonna put them in the blender. But my game was like everyone is a fucking maniac,
Yes.
and I have to like I'm having to go to the GTO charts and like try to play like tight.
That was the tough
Yeah.
thing for you was that you didn't get to pick your spots because they took all the spots.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was like I was watching like on the sidelines before the show came out, watching you, and I was like, wow, like that is a game where having one bullet is tough.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my gosh, if we had 3 bullets
Oh my God, you would have made it a million.
on.
Yeah, I mean, I think having one bullet is always tough.
Yeah.
You're just running against variance there, but I do agree that your game was the higher variance game.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that
Like Arden Cho was my game's loose cannon if the loose cannon got rebuys. Because she was not afraid to put all the chips in the middle with like and to bluff people and like certain spots, but like she also had like the ability to rebuy, whereas I couldn't put value in with my set against Keating because there was a flush and a straight on the board, and like Keating could have anything. Like he could have just a random like king 2 of clubs or whatever, like queen 3 of clubs, and then I'm out because he has a flush and I had a set, and so it was just so hard.
Of not busting early too, like
right.
So that's the other thing is that like, they chose us for this show, and if we don't give them 5 episodes, that kind of sucks for them too, so it's like, and there's some incentive for us, like it's fun, we don't want to just like play 3 hands, so it just makes it, there's just so many mitigating factors that I think people maybe watching don't realize how many things had to come into every decision. And so I think it's easy to watch it and be like, well, they should have done this, they should have done that. Like, we're not in a normal cash game, we're not in a normal setting, we're not in a casino. It's just there's a lot going on there to consider.
Yeah, I think that with the dynamics of the game, there are basically 2 strategies that are conflicting against one another. There's the theoretical strategy of how you should play loose cannon, and it doesn't matter if you bust hand 1 or hand 150. It truly doesn't. I mean, maybe there's like a sliver of like surviving is worth a little bit more EV because as the game persists on and certain people get stuck, there might be more value to your seat, or more straddles might go on. But the important thing to understand is that like one of the biggest upsides of being loose cannon is that the looser the action is around you, the thinner you get to go for value, and that's very much incentivized because you only get to keep what you win. Right. So your actual stack isn't worth anything to you. But then there's the emotional strategy, which is
something to contend with.
Right. Exactly. This huge opportunity where you're on a major platform, you're on the biggest stage of your life, playing the highest stakes that you've ever played. Right. And that strategy screams survive. And that's all that it's really asking for, So I don't know how. I mean, maybe that's the right question to ask you guys is like, how did you try to juggle these 2 things that are at odds with one another for an entire 12-day shoot or 12-hour shoot?
Do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like you said, it was like a juggling. On the one hand, you want to play your best and take advantage of the financial opportunities, and on the other hand, there's a show to shoot, and you also, like, for us, like, we wanted to play a session with these people. Like, this is a fun experience. So if you bust on hand 10, it's like you didn't even get the experience, So I think I can speak for myself. There was a lot of moments where I was conflicted on those things. And I'm trying to figure out, what is the best decision here? Because it's not cut and dry like it is at a normal poker table.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, I feel like the way that I've always navigated through life is I pick the option that's the most fun, like that's the most adventure, that's the most funny, even if it's to my own detriment. Like I'll put myself in ridiculous situations that I probably don't need to be in, but like it's gonna be a funny story. And so like weighing the experience of being on this show that with people I've dreamed about playing at stakes that I've like never thought that I would be playing at so soon in like my poker career. I don't, when I thought about like, okay, how much money could I potentially win? Maybe I win 100,000. Maybe I win more than that, marginally more than that. I'm looking at like previous episodes of the big game, and they had higher stakes, and like I think like the most somebody won was like 100-something thousand. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've won 100-something thousand before, so that's not a new experience for me. Playing with these people was like a new experience for me, and I wouldn't play bad to stay in the game, but I also didn't want to like punt off my stack in the very beginning, even though that would have been going for thin value and probably how you should be playing the loose cannon, like you said, mathematically and just like EV wise. In the EV of life, I valued the experience more, and I was willing to like just get value where I could without like going dead.
Yeah. I think that was tough for me, especially like just almost going broke on the third hand. You know, I mean, my strategy was, you know, this is similar to any game I play in. Let's like come in, get the lay of the land, see what's happening, get the tempo, the dynamics, see what people are doing before, you know, getting stacks in, ideally. So for me, it was just like, it was like getting hit by a train after that third hand, you know, like this was not what I planned.
We had the opposite trajectories. And I mean, the rest of your episodes haven't come out, so I'm not going to like talk about them, but like I started really strong my first episode. So I was riding a high. I had room to play. I felt like, unless we get into like a cooler situation, which I was ready to go down in a cooler situation. I had pre-planned, like, okay, if it's aces versus kings, then so be it. It's aces versus kings, whatever. But mostly I was like, I hope we get into some fun table talk. I was able to like loosen up a lot more personality wise, like on camera wise, because after a few hands, like Lex told me this beforehand, he's like, after a few hands, it'll just feel like a normal poker game. So after a few hands, it really did feel like I was just at the Aria playing 2-5, like just with really fun, like really big name people. And I was able to just like loosen up and like kind of have table talk like I would do at any other game. And that was the fun part for me, was more just like the banter, the being able to like talk and hang and play.
That was fun. And I think
for you,
for me it was stressful. At one point I asked them to take a 5-minute break, and Sam Grafton of all people came over and gave me a pep talk, and he was like, everybody's rooting for you, like we're behind you, even though like obviously like they have to play poker against me, like he almost stacks me in the third hand, but and I would hope he would, you know what I mean, but it really, and not just him, but in general, there was just this feeling of like they wanted us to feel good. They wanted us to feel rooted for. They were rooting for us. And I think that made a big difference, that it was like a very loving environment for me anyway, was my experience.
And like for the people watching, it's easy to watch through a million different lenses. Like, I think most of the people watching are just watching the poker, right? They're watching like a person play poker. Someone got chosen to play poker against these people, and they're like, wow, what would that be like if I got to play poker against them? And they're watching the poker, but there were so many other factors of pressure on us that I don't think you think about. Like, I certainly didn't think about it when I was like, oh, I'm signing up for this shootout and I hope I get chosen. I didn't think about any of this, where like it's not only that people are talking strategy in your ear behind the scenes. Like, very smart people told me strategy that I should take, and they were absolutely correct mathematically, taking that into account. Also, Nadia, being our coach on the show, has had other strategies and that we were trying to incorporate, and then we're trying to play our game that got us there in the first place. Plus, we know that a bunch of people are watching us, not just the poker community, but on TV. So like the general populace is going to watch us. In fact, like my cousins have been sending me screenshots of seeing me in bars, like random bars, like
Fox Sports.
Just randomly there. And then on top of that, PokerStars is trying to do a huge relaunch of their show that was a huge hit 10 years ago, and this is the first episode coming out. So a lot is like riding on our backs to have the show actually be the show, where they didn't have alternates for us. You know, if we bust hand one, like they just dumped a lot of money into a show production that they don't have episodes for.
Not to mention that they picked us because they felt we were good on camera, entertaining. We both have stories they wanted to tell. You know, I promised Nadia a good game. We both promised. I mean, not promised, but we both said. They said, okay, if you get up early, 5K, 10K, 15K, like, what are you gonna do? And both of us said, we will not lock it up. We're here to make 100K, not 10K. You know, 10K is not gonna change my life. 100K would be nice. So it wasn't like we'll go balls to the wall and bust early, but that was also a factor of, you know, this is a stream, you want it to entertain people.
Well, that's an interesting point to me, I guess. It makes me, or I guess it poses a question in my mind of what was the ultimate goal from your guys' perspective? Because the way that, like what I'm hearing from you guys is that money was a factor, but wasn't necessarily the primary focus, right? And I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, which is very difficult to do because it's been a long time since I had this first opportunity. My first opportunity was actually Poker Night in America. And I similarly went in with like a chip on my shoulder where I needed to perform in a certain way. But for me, that was just playing every hand. I was playing small stakes at that point in my career, I was playing nosebleeds in Ivy's room, and I'm getting to go play 25-50 with like Chad Brown and Todd Brunson and the like. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to play 100% of hands, and I'm going to be an absolute lunatic. And that will be what carries me favor in this particular moment. And also that's fun for me. But it was never about money in that instance, right? It was about being a part of this new show that was launching, trying to become one of the regulars, providing myself an opportunity moving forward. For you girls, this is a very different scenario because there's a lot of real money at play. Like, you know, you kind of mentioned 100,000 could potentially change things. What was the driving force? Because as as noble as it is to want to, help Stars with the relaunch and ensure that you guys are in the seat long enough, they still have a high stakes cash game that they're going to get footage out of if you bust for whatever reason. So, how did you kind of like prioritize who you were pleasing at the end of the day between Stars, the powers that be behind the scenes, yourself, and the money factor?
To me, it was an opportunity to get to play with a cast of people I would never be able to play with. So the money thing, it's interesting because so for you with your first time, it was still, it was real money, but also you put your own money in it too. Right. I think the fact that I didn't put any of my own money into it, it just is Monopoly money then. So I don't, if I win Monopoly money, it turns into real money. But if I lose it, I didn't lose anything. So in my normal 2-5 games, when I get stacked, I get pissed because, I get it hurts, right? Because
stop playing with Ben Wynn.
He plays at my Red Rock game. If I get stacked in this game, the bummer is that I don't get to be on the show anymore.
Right.
It's not like, oh, I just lost 50K. So you have to weigh the hurt of how much would it hurt to have to not get to play on the show anymore. And to me, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I can always rebuy into my 2-5 game, but I can't rebuy or ever get to play on this show ever again. So if I win money, great. That's the goal. That's how you play the game. I'm competitive in all games, whether there's $5 at stake or no dollars at stake. I want to win the game. So obviously I'm definitely playing to win the game, but I also realize and recognize that this is a once in a lifetime thing. Unless I somehow, if I win a Mr. Beast video and can play high stakes against all those people, then maybe it's not a once in a lifetime thing. But until then, I treated it as I might never sit here ever again.
Right.
But don't you see on the money factor is a once in a lifetime thing as well?
Not really.
In that type of game?
It's, it's for poker player. Well, I could speak for myself. That's winning 50K is not a once in a lifetime opportunity. I have that opportunity 10 times a month on WSOP. They run circuits events all day, so it's I think my priorities were a little different from yours, although I cared a lot about the experience. I think my priorities were, one, to make decisions I can look back on and feel good about, poker decisions I feel good about. And secondly, to be in the moment, just to be here now because I'll never be in this spot again, not this spot poker wise, but as a life experience, I want to be in this moment. I don't want to be thinking about how I look, what people are going to think of me, this and that. And I literally prepared with my therapist about what do I want to focus on? Because there's, especially being a female, there's a lot to be self-conscious about. Not only were people, giving feedback on the internet why they choose 2 women, which, by the way, if they chose 2 men, no one would have noticed.
Right.
No one would have said why they choose 2 men. That doesn't happen, right? So, but also then there's this.
Also, the answer is obvious. Not even trying to be reductive, but it's just far more interesting.
Right.
Right. Anytime you're presented with more of the same or something very different is going to be a lot more attractive to the general audience, right? Yeah. It's we haven't seen very many women put into this particular situation. And Nikki's lineup was heavily woman based. It was
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
Tilly, Arden.
Half women.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that's the people that are just like crying foul because a quota was like breached or something along those lines.
Yeah.
It's just like, who cares?
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? It's not like you two were not qualified for the
Right.
position. If anything, if I were going to complain about the two of you being chosen, I would complain that Lily's good. Right? And I don't, that's not a slight against Nikki. It's
No.
just like
Yeah.
Lily's I've been playing with Lily since 2008.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just started in like 2020, 2021.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like you still fit, you very much
The
still fit the
amateur-
box of an amateur enthusiast, and like you're still very
I'm
starstruck.
excited about my
Yeah.
2-5 game.
Yeah, and that's and it's not that Lily's not.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, I know that you've been on the scene for the
Yeah.
better part of 15 years. So it's like, and that shouldn't disqualify you, by the way, right? Because it was still a very interesting story, and you've never played 100, 200, or
Right.
at least not to my knowledge.
No, never.
So it's just like what we're qualifying as an amateur who deserves the shot
Right.
is so antiquated because we're just reaching all the way back to the people who won these satellites on stars that were like UPS drivers.
Well, plus there was no resources back then. Like people didn't have access to preflop or to like to solvers and
Yeah,
like
we can all
you know
study
like
really easily
everyone
now.
has a much higher like the baseline is so much higher than it was back then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
Yeah,
the
for
floor
sure.
of like
Yeah.
You're just not gonna
skill
get the
set.
you're not gonna get the feel good story of King of Queens making his way onto the big game
Yeah.
and winning 100,000. You know, it's not gonna turn into a sitcom afterwards.
Right.
Like you're gonna find people who have a lot of fucking experience playing poker and are enthusiasts, and I think that's
Especially
great.
since you have to win a shootout first. Like
Right.
you
I did
still
think
did have to play.
because they took us down and weaned us down into groups, and they took Nikki, and was it just Nikki and you and Paul down at the end to tell you won, right?
there were
Or three
there
of
were
you?
like
they
four
put
of
the
us.
losers in the room.
Oh yeah,
They took
did they
us-
not show that part?
Yeah, so they took us
don't
down.
think.
There was a group with Nikki, and
They
then
separated
my
us
group.
into two
And they
groups.
said one person. Well, we assumed one person from each group is the loose cannon, right? So Nikki's group goes down. We're waiting forever.
Yeah.
like we just think they're going to tell you, and they're going to come back up. We're waiting like forever,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then Nikki comes back up, and I was so excited for her, but I immediately texted Jamin and said, I didn't win. I didn't get it
Right, because
we're the same person.
yeah, you fit a similar profile.
Yeah, we were
Right.
like
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I never thought that, and that's why if you see like when they tell me, I said what?
yeah.
I was
But the
so
irony,
shocked.
like, so you say that you're the same person, but the truth of the matter is, like, you're very much not.
Right.
Yeah, I was
Right.
about to say
Right.
the same thing. You guys are completely different,
Right.
Right.
other than being female.
Yeah, like you're both
Brunette.
women and brunette. Yeah.
We're the
you know.
same.
Right.
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 So,
But
yeah, I
when
think
Nikki
that-
told me
yeah.
that she won the shootout, I was like, you're a lock.
Yeah.
Like you're a lock. But it was more because you have a massive social media presence. You
Yeah.
come from a totally different space where you already garnered an audience and a following. Like you're a lot more Arden Cho adjacent
Yeah.
than you are I don't know, Nadia adjacent or Kristen Foxen adjacent,
Right.
where like Lily, you're kind of more of the come up
The
story.
poker player.
Yeah, it's like I've been grinding. I'm a mother. I'm a family person. I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been in the industry, and I'm waiting for that breakthrough moment. Like these two stories are very
That's true.
Yeah.
very different.
For sure. And they did tell us too, like, which I have mad respect for. And I think part of it, I have to give credit to Nadia and her and how she views, women in poker as complete equals. But they said, we picked you two because we thought you would be the best for the show individually. The two people. It had nothing to do with who are, you're both the same demographic. It was like, who do we think is going to make the best episodes?
I think when Lily was describing it in my head, because I thought the same thing, but yeah, we're just so used to being beat down by like, oh, like if there's one woman, there can't be another,
Yes.
Right.
So I was equally like, damn, I really wanted it to be
know.
us, but like,
we thought we were each other's biggest competition, which sucked because we
not,
both
not
wanted
like we were rooting against each other,
Yeah,
but like
right.
we were
Yeah.
like, just
Right.
if you win, I'd be so happy for you.
Exactly.
But like it was just kind of it's so beat into us that like, you can't possibly
Yeah.
have two women, even because we're a monolith. We're the same exact people,
Right.
So like,
two bubbly brunette 30-something females can't have
can't
the same
possibly.
opportunity. Of course not.
but I'm really credit to PokerStars for
Yeah.
seeing us as individuals because
For sure.
I like being treated as an individual.
Yeah, it's kinda nice.
It was when I screamed when she walked through the door was so genuine. I was like, I'm gonna be courteous to whoever walks in, gonna shake their hand and be like, good job, you. But when it was her, I was
when they
so
told
happy.
me, all I was thinking, and I was saying it to the producer the whole way up because it's a long walk up to the green room. I was like, I can't wait to see Nikki. I was so excited because I knew how she was excited that she wasn't gonna expect to see me either.
Yeah.
I was so pumped to see you.
I was so happy.
Yeah, they showed. I don't remember seeing them tell you that you won. I'm sure they did.
It was that clip that Guapo just put on there.
I missed it.
Oh.
I did see Lily's because there's only one episode out, so I watched that one thoroughly. And it was just you alone in the room with the judges, kind of like American Idol style.
Oh, it was?
No, so it was me and the middle-aged white guy from Middle America, and I know, he was
They're all the same.
I'm sorry. Steve.
Oh yeah, his name was Steve. That's
Yes. Okay. I'm so sorry. And Tashira, right? So, so they tell Tashira first, you know, we loved you. We think you're amazing and sweet and have a best personality. We don't think you're ready for this game from a poker standpoint. And then the two of us are standing there, and I 100% was like, okay, well, I didn't get it. You know, it'll be Nikki and this guy, and that'll be great. I'm super happy for Nikki. And then that's when they told the two of us that it was me. Yeah.
Yeah. See, they didn't show that part,
Right.
which understandably so. I'm sure there isn't like anything that happened there where it's worth highlighting somebody else being disappointed. But tell me more tea. I like these stories. Like
the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, like what was the turnaround time between when you found out when you had to actually show up and play?
Okay, so this part was hard for my episodes.
hers was the hardest.
Because Lily got a day off. I had to interview. So there were. Filming takes so long. I don't think people realize, if you've never been on a production before, like, because you only get to see the edited version, you don't realize that they used it was like 3 straight days of filming, because it was 8 a.m. to go sign up for the shootout. Then we had to be there at 8 a.m. to play the shootout event. Then we had to be there the next day at 8 a.m. all the way till, I think I was there till like 12, like midnight. The auditions, it was back to back, and it was an all-day thing.
Auditions were so long.
It was so long. The process was so long, and you're just like nervous the whole time. Like your body's like stressed the whole time because you're just like, I don't know how I'm supposed to be or act or feel or whatever. And then the next day we did a whole shooting day, which I don't know if I should talk about because I don't think they showed any of it, but we did a whole like Nadia coaching session where it was a whole day of filming where she like kind of gave a strat on other players and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to use any of that. They might in your season, because I thought some of the stuff they were going to use and then they showed it in this like YouTube video. So who knows how much they'll use, but that was another full day of shooting. And then I had to be up till 1:30 in the morning doing interview shoots where I lose my voice in a couple of the interviews. And then I had to be back on set in the morning that next morning. So I only had like 5 hours of sleep before my game. And then we're shooting 12 hours, even though it seems like it's not that long. Shoot days take so long to film the poker part of it. So by the time I get to those like all-ins where we ran it twice and I'm stupid, I don't know what I was thinking, but also my brain is mush by that point. Like I had very little sleep. We were playing for 12 hours at that point after 3 days of full days of shooting. And everyone up until that point had gone all in and ran it twice. And so it was just, I didn't even think, because a lot of people are like, why did you run it twice? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I didn't even think about it. Of course it's dumb. Of course I would never do that. I thought about it for 2 seconds, but like everybody had done that before me, and I was just like, oh yeah, we're all in. Yeah, we ran it twice. Yeah, sure. Like, yeah, of course. And then it took like Lex to be like, hey, stop doing that.
Yeah. I think it was, you know,
like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I think
there's
it
like
was
5
really
hands
tough.
left.
In the closest experience I've had to it that I could compare to is making day 5 in the main. It's every decision and every moment is the most pressure you've ever had, you know, and you're increasingly tired every day, and you can't sleep because it's more and more exciting. Yeah. You know,
Right.
and I texted with Kristen recently after she busted the main. And she said, the first thing she said, but I didn't even mention it, was the same thing. She said, I've never been so underslept by the last, the day I busted. It's never been, she was on stream constantly, all of those things. And it's like the biggest decisions of your life, and you're the least prepared. You don't have any of
your judgments are lacking. Like your brain cells are not firing on all cylinders. You're just like kind of half running on autopilot and half like just trying to survive.
Yeah, in an environment you've never been in, or either of us have never been in anything close. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the main event's a perfect comparison. Maybe not for Jesse, but.
No, I played my worst ever on day 7 of the main event. I'm serious. And also, it's tough, and it really sucks that your highest equity spot in your life is going to be when you can't perform as well as you expect yourself to. But at the same time, it's kind of beautiful in a way because everyone's sharing that same issue. Yeah. And so it's like, who is able to kind of rise up and find that extra bit of performance despite everything else?
It's like an Iron Man.
Yeah, you learn something about yourself
when
you go deep in a tournament, and it's similar. And I really appreciate that about poker tournaments.
Yeah.
And I'm sure about the big game.
I think with the big game too, it also really did help. Even though seating position wise sucks to have Grafton on your left and Lex on your left, but
I had Keating on my right, which was great.
Right, that's also very important.
Such a lucky move.
But like Lex's willingness to just say, "Hey, stop playing small pots pre-flop. There are 8 hands left.
Yeah."
Like, please.
That was super helpful.
Just pot it every time you're dealt in.
I will never forget that.
Like that's just really, really helpful. And like, it's not that he's incentivized to do that. He's not.
No, he's not. Right.
But he's also not disincentivized to do it. It doesn't hurt him at all.
Right.
More action in the game certainly doesn't hurt him. He's buried anyway.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a fuck.
His arc was
that's the Lex Veldhouse that I think I would have seen more, like very cutthroat, like just wanting to win all the money. So it actually surprises me.
No.
Really?
I've been I know Lex way back to like pre-Black Friday. He used to come to Vegas a lot, and deep down he's changed so much, man. A family and kid and like a streaming deal and playing online MTTs. He's changed so much.
So
he at his core is a fucking psychopath. Like, he's the kind of guy that if he can find a justified reason for calling off 9 high pre-flop, he would absolutely do it. And I think, like, especially in that environment, like Nikki's saying, the day's dragging on. It's 12 hours long.
Yeah.
We have 5 hands left. You're buried to the gills. You're in the best fucking game you've played maybe in 10 years. Go ahead and pot it.
Yeah.
You know, like the hand that you actually bust on, you pot with King 10, which is very reasonable. He rebought you with King 10. Like, bro wants to go. Like, it's fine.
He said it was the biggest losing
loss
session of his life, right?
Which is crazy because if you watch, like, his storyline as a whole, it could be a whole series too, because he came in with vengeance of being down in the previous big games, which was like over a decade ago. So he's like, I'm here to get my money back. And in the first like 2 episodes of mine, he's just fucking crushing, just like stacking people. He stacks Keating like a couple times, and like he's up like 200,000. He's up like so much, and everybody at the table's like kind of pissed, like kind of like, hey, fucking calm down, man. Like, share the chips. Like, what the hell? Like, Tilly's like grilling him. Like, okay, well, just don't give the chips to that guy because he's never giving them back and all this stuff. And then he gets buried by a landslide, and it's like an insane trajectory, like, because it's 150 hands.
Especially like with the way the money was dispersed too. Like, almost all went to Arden and Tilly.
Yeah.
So it's just like everybody else at the table is just like, what a wonderful turn of events here. But like, you would think that a lot of it would go to Keating because he's the wildest guy and they're gonna battle and stuff. Not at all. Keating just absolutely gets laid out to slaughter. I think I don't even know what he was down when he ultimately ended up leaving.
Or something.
Yeah, something like he left. He literally left the game. Who would have thought?
Yeah, really.
You know, like, of all people, Keating is Max Gamble.
And then Arden was down to her last bullet. Like
Right.
Arden was down a lot.
She kept getting stacked at the end of the
180
episodes.
or something. Yeah, and then she got in this massive hand with Tilly, who was up like 360K. My table had so much chips on the table because everyone was getting stacked left and right, and then rebuying for way more than the minimum.
Yeah, that's
like,
why when you guys say, are like, oh, winning 50,000, it's, I could do that at times. It's like, you guys could have won 300K.
That was my thought.
I didn't know that there was going to be that many millions of dollars on the table by the end of it. I thought
You have Keating in the game.
okay, yeah, but that's one guy.
That's all you need.
He's the guy.
That is the guy.
Yeah. I mean, like hindsight's 2020. Like, yeah, there
Sure.
was a lot more than 100K that could be won, but yeah, we start with 50 to like even triple that is
Yeah.
like, in 150 hands.
It's so doable, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the cap that I was expecting. Was like I could win 100K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I couldn't have won more. Obviously losing it all.
Being
but-
realistic.
I think
yeah.
100 is like a very fair, like a very fair great goal.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're talking about like good, great, unachievable type of thing, it's like, okay, well, a good win here would be like 25 to 50K.
Yeah.
A great win would be like 100,000, and then the unachievable, unimaginable win would be like 400 or 500.
Yeah.
And honestly, like in those lineups, less so Lily's, more so Nikki's. Somebody winning 400 was not out of the question.
That's
Because
true.
the thing is, when you double, you only win 50K.
Right.
But if you double 100K, you win 150.
Which is why Hunt did say to me,
so
like,
good.
you should try to double early.
Yeah.
But also that means you're putting all the money in the middle early.
Right,
And so it was scary,
Yeah.
especially with my hands. I was excited because I was getting value hands early, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I can double early. But then just like, it just would get worse as the streets went on. Like it would go like, the straight
you
came in
won
on the
it
turn.
so easy,
the
kid.
flush came in on the river. Like,
Yeah. That was the interesting thing for me was that the more the more you are up, the more you want to get it in. Right? Because you're free rolling 50 of the double.
yeah.
Well, it cuts both ways. It depends how much you value the money that you're up.
True. That's
Right.
true. Yeah.
But yeah, the more that you're up, the more you certainly. It's funny because we talked about this when the relaunch had occurred, and I think a big misnomer is the more that you're up, the more you want to lock it down. But that's not really true because you're still forced to play the game. There's an ante, like you're gonna. It's very expensive to try to lock it down. The more you're up, that actually it's like compounding interest. The more you want the money to work for you,
Yeah.
So as long as you feel like you have any sort of edge, which the lineup you guys were given, sure there are some tough spots, but like there's also some like really juicy spots as well. You're probably just making money by playing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, my strategy was if I ever did get to like 100K and there's, however many hands left or whatever, I'm gonna call a single raise pot almost every hand and just try and smash a board because I can win so much money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I'm down under the 50K, I'm actually, I'm not gonna do that.
I think
because-
most people would take the exact opposite strategy.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Which is probably why they picked me.
No, but your strategy, I think, is correct.
Yeah.
I think more to your point too, what you were saying was, let's say the last hand of the night, you're up 50K.
Yeah.
Somebody offers you to flip a coin. You have to take the coin
Yes.
flip because you're either up 50K or you're up 150K.
Exactly.
So it's not like whatever you double up, you win 100% of, and whatever you keep, you win 100% of minus 50K. So it's just
Exactly. I had a
winning
situation.
situation.
I was in a 2-5 game at the Win, I don't know, a number of years back, maybe 5 or so. And there was just some rich guy, and I'm like this little girl and playing 2-5 with $1,000 in front of her. And he told me he would give me, it was like 1.3 on a physical coin flip for 10K, thinking I would never take it. And I took it. I was like, are you
I would be
kidding?
so terrified. I'd be so. Wait,
yeah,
this wasn't
about
the
the
Iceman,
coin.
was it?
Oh, no, and I lost.
That's what I'm saying. I would
Did
be
you
very
flip
afraid.
an actual coin?
No, it was some random, like it wasn't even our coin, like it was
Okay.
yeah. But I was just like, I mean,
There was like that was like a long-standing scam that was
Yeah,
going around Las Vegas. I think Iceman got banned from Bellagio because he was recruiting people to a hotel room to flip coins.
Oh my God.
And the coin was like weighted.
He tried to recruit me to be an ice girl. I don't know what that is, but I said no.
I got some guesses.
We're dating ourselves right now, and most of the audience probably has no idea what we're talking about.
idea.
But you guys need to look up the Iceman WSOP. It was like 2008. This guy just makes not even a super deep run. Like I think he made like day 6 and cashed for like became a Vegas legend. Card Player did like a crib style tour of his house.
Yeah. Oh my God, so funny.
He has these watches on display. He's got his wife there cooking up dinner. It's just like the most remarkable. It's easily the one sole piece of content that we have from that time that sums up how free the money was.
Yeah.
Wait, hold up. It's even better than that because when they walk in for the Cribs episode, he just has his WSOP episode going on the television. And then they go to the backyard and it's just dirt.
Yeah.
There's nothing. He hasn't laid down sod or anything.
It's 3 square feet of rock and a folding chair.
Yeah. And he has this tiny little Chihuahua dog that like, this is Princess's spot.
This dude was
it's the
a
best
legend.
Cribs episode
It's so
in the
good.
world.
And yeah, you've been around long enough. Like you probably grinded with him. He's the biggest fucking nit on the planet. He used to grind like the Red Rock Venetian games all the time back in the day.
He would be in the Aria. He would have $200 of green in front of him, like 3 bliss techs. And I swear, I think it was just his alibi because he was always up on the phone doing business.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I think it was just where he would meet people or whatever. And like, he would always say that it was correct to fold aces on a bubble.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Of course he did.
Did he have all that bliss decks out when he was asking you to be his ice girl?
He always did. So.
He's just like lathering himself up.
Oh God!
Oh my God.
I think I'm okay with not being around during this time.
Guapo, if
I'm
you could-
trying to find
Teddy
Is his
Iceman Monroe.
Is his
Okay.
website still up?
Teddy Iceman Monroe.
Okay.
You'll find it. While we're talking about legends of the game and a little bit behind the scenes, how fucking great is Jennifer Tilly?
She's amazing. Like honestly, I was a fan before. Like love her energy. On the show, amazing. And I don't know how many people have watched all of my season, but there was one hand where I had the second nuts and she had the nuts, and we both.
Oh, I was so mad.
We both had it
I'm
on
so
the turn.
fucking mad.
You're mad at her or me?
Both of you. Well, her. You
said-
have to accept the gift.
I was like, any other person in the world, in any other game, anywhere on planet Earth, I snap call. I don't care if you tell me you have the nuts or don't have the nuts. It doesn't matter what you're saying in your mouth. I just have to call. I just pay.
Yeah.
Right. But thinking of all the circumstantial stuff, like, why would she lie on a stream to me that we've been having such a friendly banter with? There's no incentive for her to lie at all. She already gets to win the pot. It's already pretty big. I don't have that much behind, so it's not like she wins a bunch extra.
Right.
And I chose to believe her, and like it makes sense to believe her. And
Just fold the second nuts.
But we both checked turn.
Right.
Like when we got there on the turn, and we both checked it, so we trapped each other.
Yeah.
And
the whole hand was mad. I thought you could have been all in on the flop. That's neither here nor there. That doesn't really matter that much. Did you secure her on ace holes?
No, but she did say on the stream she said she was interested.
Okay,
so.
because prior to her knowing you, I reached out on your behalf and I was like, Jen, these girls they're launching this pod. They're huge fans, and she's just like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in Toronto filming and I don't care about these people. No, I'm kidding.
No.
She didn't say that.
She was following us on Twitter.
Oh,
She seems so sweet. Like she should be in the poker Hall of Fame just for being so sweet.
She put it together on the, like, she's like, oh, you're one of the hosts of Ace Holes. Like, I think she remembered that text. So thank you for priming that.
Anytime.
You set us up.
Somehow it saved you a nuts for a second nut spot.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the big takeaway here is what I'm hearing.
But she's a gem of all gems. I can't even begin to describe how she's just so quick-witted too. Like, she was just so funny, so sweet, like just such a amazing personality. Like, can't believe the poker community gets to have her.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of a kind.
Yeah.
We should cherish her and put her under glass.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she should get a
Put her
wax
into a Chucky
figure.
doll.
Right. You got the other half. How was playing with Phil?
Oh my God, it was fun. I mean, I didn't need to be that scared of him because I think like he's a cool, laid back guy, and he also like I don't think plays a lot of poker anymore, right? So I kind of knew what to expect because I've watched so many hours of him. But just being at the table with him because of him being like one of the OGs with like Antonius and Gus Hansen, like all that era, I was like, this is just so cool. Like the Unabomber, like all that.
I was so sad he didn't wear the ski goggles.
Oh my God, I know.
What a disappointment.
Oh my God, he was awesome.
What do you know of the Furniture Man? That was the first experience I've seen of him.
Oh my God. So not to
The guy giving out donut
he
stickers?
didn't really know much about how to play poker.
Yeah, we got that in the first episode.
So-
You don't have to mince words.
Yeah. So he knew someone who was working on the show, and they.
Is he the guy? Is his company or whatever the commercials that are coming out now with like Basebaldy and a few others?
I don't.
You haven't seen
that
this?
would make so much sense.
Okay, so
It's called Ashley. His company, I think. I don't know.
oh, I think I actually know Ashley Furniture.
Well,
I think
Ashley
that's local
Furniture
here.
is
Not
it's a
that
big
one.
chain.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's like another one.
Okay, fair.
That's not.
Then it must not be what I'm thinking of either. Anyway, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. So he knew someone who knew him and was like, oh, I think this guy would be really fun on the show, and he's really interested in playing. And so he shows up, and I mean, nobody knew what to expect. Like, he's a furniture millionaire or something like that. He came up with a chair, and who knows. So, but he was really, I think, more of what you would actually think of as like the original
true loose cannon. Yeah.
on our show for sure.
Yeah, I think he definitely fits that role pretty well. I mean, like, look, the game has changed, and so will this product.
Yeah.
So I do think he actually facilitates a much better role as a wealthy business person. I mean, he's also like a Guy Liberté. Maybe not quite that wealthy, but like Guy played a very critical role in the original high stakes poker. Without him, I don't think that show could even have existed, let alone had the long run that it did and the success that it did. I mean, he really truly was the backbone of that because games just don't run that big without somebody to facilitate it, and they were gambling pretty high stakes back then. It was the best of the best by what we qualified it like back then. Now if you put those lineups together, you'd be like, oh, pretty juicy fucking game, and it would be debatable who the wreck or the whale actually is. But like the equivalent of taking that group of pros back then and putting them in a game right now would be the equivalent of like Ike, Kuhn, Galfond, all of them just like getting to sit down with like one recreational, and playing like 501k. Like you don't see it. So he was a pleasant addition, I would say, to say the least. What about Michael Ian Black?
I love him, and he's actually a big fan of Jamin's and Jamin's vlog. He's like an avid follower. So Jamin was like, this guy is really awesome. And so I think my impression, and I can't speak for him, but was that these stakes were really high for him, and he was nervous or not really high for him, but higher than he would normally
It's
play.
the highest
I think.
he's ever played.
Yes. Yeah. And he is, loves poker and obviously knows how to play poker, but isn't a pro.
Yeah.
So I think his dynamic was he was there to enjoy the experience too. And I think he was a little nervous, but to have the dynamic of, a businessman, a comedian, a Grafton, a Maria, and a Phil, and, whoever I am, like, I think it was really well put together.
Yeah, it's a very, very different lineup though, because
Yeah.
like those
Completely different
recreationals,
flavor.
yeah, those recreationals aren't high variance. Like you kind of said, Michael's playing maybe a little bit bigger. He's not trying to get too involved. Nikki actually knows Michael pretty well.
Well, we met. So I met him after the long day of shooting, the audition day. It was at the same day that there's the NAPT was running. Like there were tournaments going. Actually, kind of won the ladies event, and she came down like right after we found out we won, and we were like hanging out a little bit. But Joey Ingram was there and was hanging out with Bardah and Michael Ian Black. And as I was walking back with Stapes through Resorts World, they were all hanging out in this like bar area, and I was like, oh hey, I know you guys, and like I went over there, and then I met Michael Ian Black, and Stapes introduced us, and then we kind of just like kept in touch. I showed up to like kind of rail Lily during her episodes, and they were on lunch, and he was like, oh hey, hi, because I was like one of the few people he had met before filming.
Oh, okay. So that changes my follow-up question. I was gonna say, were you disappointed that he wasn't in your lineup?
Well, I, as a fan of comedy, I've loved things that he was in, so like I was like, oh, I hope I get to meet him or whatever. But no, I'm glad that my lineup, I swear I manifested it, because when I first got into poker, I was thinking of like what a dream like lineup would be, and Phil Hellmuth has always been my number one because the way he berates everybody. I wanted to be I wanted like a notorious Phil Hellmuth beratement episode.
If you had bluffed him off that Jack 10.
I know. Close. If I had done pot and a half or something.
Yes, 100%.
I think I miscalculated, because I thought I went way bigger than I actually did, because Heating was like, you should have gone bigger. I was like, I thought I went big. And then I was like watching him. I was like, oh, my brain was not mathematically there. But I was so close. I didn't want it to be inorganic, so I wasn't going to purposely try to poke him.
Yeah.
But like, I definitely did want that. Calm down over there.
What are you breaking now?
Chauncey's
Just my
dead.
dreams
They
coming
did
true.
tell us that was why you went in the first lineup, because
Phil
part
was
of your
there.
story was wanting to play with Phil.
Yeah. He was always in my number one. I remember specifically putting together a lineup in my head. It was him, Phil Ivey was in it, Jennifer Tilly was in there. So like two of like my dream lineup was already in there, and I didn't know the rest of the lineup yet. Like it was just like huge OG.
Little did you know Alan Keaton was part of your dream.
Yeah. my dream man. Alan's a sweetheart. Like Alan is by far like one of the sweetest people behind the scenes that I've had the pleasure of knowing. So he's got a lot of different personalities and the things that come to the surface during plays, but like he's beforehand he was like really nice to me, like wishing me good luck, and
He's the guy you get the courtesy double up through.
Yeah. But I don't think
I
I was expecting him to like come hard at me and put me in a lot of like really high pressure situations. Like when I raised him on the river a few times, I was half expecting him to jam it on me and like me to just be in a really sick spot. And he didn't. He just, he called. But if he jams, I'm like, fuck. Like I don't know what to do if he jams.
It's really funny because I knew that I was the first alternate, and obviously I know you both very well.
Yeah.
And I was like running through my head what would happen if I got to play in these games, because it's like I'm too Keating-esque. It's just inevitable. Yeah. I'm going to be in the biggest pots. Mm-hmm. And if they involve you, like I'm definitely the type of person who if I have like a close relationship with somebody, it will affect the way that I play.
Yeah.
But usually it affects it in the sense that I know the way that they think more than the general populace.
Yeah.
So it alters things. But in this instance, it would have been the dynamic of the loose cannon.
Yeah.
Right.
And my natural inclination, my natural personality would
put me in high pressure spots.
If I got to play against a random loose cannon, I appreciate the opportunity that you have before you, and I'm going to give you a chance to double up. Yeah. But I absolutely want to torture you
100%
while you're in this venue.
I would not question that, Berkey.
But I don't think that would have been where I feel like I would have gravitated a lot more like the way that basically everybody at the table. I mean, literally everybody was fucking outwardly rooting for you guys.
Yeah.
It was almost off-putting to the audience.
I know. I think a couple, I try not to read comments, but some of the like comments on Twitter were like, why is everyone so cheerleadery?
Right. Like there was a point where you were all in against Arden, ran it twice with like 8 hands left to go with nines. Which also you were kind of unlucky to even lose twice.
Right.
One person folded king queen, another person folded ace queen. She had king queen, whatever. Anyway, you end up chopping, and she goes, "If we're all in again, we'll run it twice. But if you win the first board, we'll just end it." Yeah. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? Why don't you just go all in minus a chip and fold your hand?
Exactly. See, I think that was the other thing too. Is in my episode, everyone was in SAG, like Screen Actors Guild, and it was when the picketing had just stopped, so we were celebrating a little bit. But my point being is that everyone was an entertainer. So I think that like for whatever reason in my lineup, we subconsciously valued the show aspect almost more than the poker aspect, even though that was like the point of the game. Like everyone's competitive, everybody wants to win, everybody like is fighting for it, but we also like really valued being entertainer. Like we just like, we're like the show, like it's fun. Like it's just, I don't know. It was a different dynamic than like being at a cutthroat poker table.
I think it's tough to juggle too, because when you're there in the moment, there's a sense or a feeling amongst everybody at the table of what makes for compelling television. But then there's the audience at home.
Yeah.
And all they really want is to see your butthole pucker as much as possible. Right. So it's just like,
watching it back, I'm like, why didn't he put more pressure on me?
Right. Right. Like we're just screaming at the TV.
100%.
Like, this is going to be so good. Like you have a bluff catcher and he's definitely going to go all in.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, check. It's like, fuck. What are we watching here? This is like my college home game where everybody's afraid of the one guy.
I get it.
I'm so glad that you didn't get a spot in my game, Berkey, because like the meta would have been so gross. Because like I know that you are just gonna check jam with the nut blocker, but I'm also like,
you have to play the game of like, but would he do it against me?
Yes, yes, exactly. And he knows that I know that, and so he's going for like.
Meanwhile, I'm just a dumb ape. I'm sitting there like, I have flush draw, all in. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad I didn't get a seat in your game either. Not because of that reason, but like between the two games, I would have had far less fun in your game.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if I was replacing.
Oh, you would have loved to be in my lineup.
Your game, I would have kicked you out. I would have paid you, maybe not 50. I would have paid you some amount of that 50,000 to have your seat. Yeah. Like I'll take. How about 20,000? I'll take your seat. Let's go.
Because you would have lost 400K or won 400K.
For sure. That game was absolutely batshit. Honestly, thinking back on it, I'm glad we didn't think of this at the time, but like I probably should have just bought your stack. Just been like, all right, I'll give you 20,000 for your stack. Go in and play like a Looney Tune.
Yeah.
And
I would have done it.
If you win, we'll chop the profits. If you lose, I'm taking your fucking seat.
I was snap called.
Oh man, what an opportunity missed.
You could have been the loose cannon, Burke.
I could have been the cannon.
With Keating and Tilly and Phil.
Can we talk about this nickname, by the way?
Oh God.
Is Loose Lily here to stay?
Oh my God. Oh my God. I got a text from my cousin in New Orleans. I haven't talked to her, in a month, and all it says is Loose Lily. What? I'm like, no. No.
Yeah.
Wow, what a name.
Not the most flattering nickname, I guess.
Not at all.
But within the context of the show, I can't think of a better one.
Oh, thanks.
It's so, it's so good within the context of the actual show, right? But in a broader sense, it's not really, not one we want to see stick.
Yeah.
What did they end up going with? Cannon, I can't remember.
The can.
No, they were every
You got
time.
a nickname?
She got a nickname. Well, she had multiple nicknames.
Jealous.
She had a nickname to correct for a previous nickname that was not so flattering.
Yeah.
But
It's cool, man.
Tight Lily.
I don't maybe we can go a different route with this.
Oh man.
Super sexual Lily.
Yeah, exactly. My son's watching.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, good. Hey.
Oh man. All right. When will we see the next episode of The Big Game for You?
So they're coming out on YouTube, I think, every Saturday. There's
They're also on TV, right?
Yeah, on FS1, I think they come out like Friday nights.
Okay.
So I don't know if anybody has TV anymore, but
I have YouTube TV. That's where I saw it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Friday nights, and then Saturdays it comes out on YouTube, and so there'll be episodes 6 through 10. So episode 6.
If you do have TV too and you miss it Friday night, I don't know if it's true about, or it's just random, but like for my episodes, they were just playing randomly random times. Like they would have it every Friday, but then they would just like, I think whenever they had a free slot, they would just like shove it in there. So that you could still catch it on TV. That's like your preferred method.
Right.
Yeah. And I think your entire season is now up on YouTube, as well as a sort of all hands revealed.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so I haven't watched it, but it's like 2.5 hours, so it's obviously still condensed.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like straight runtime of all the hands raw.
That makes sense.
Or maybe
Maybe just not the ones where people folded a lot. So in my episodes, the first episode, they couldn't wrap it yet, even though like they're supposed to wrap it at 25 hands each episode, but they couldn't wrap it because Phil Hellmuth had not played a single hand. And they were like, Phil, you have to play a hand. Like, you have to play a hand so we can...
Oh, Phil.
Why does it matter?
I don't know. I mean, I guess because just so they could show like
a
who
total?
up, down, VPIP. He had like a 0% VPIP. I don't know. But like,
how does this man?
Or maybe it was just a joke that they made, but like but he hadn't played any hands. In the first 25 hands, he hadn't played a hand.
So it's 6 episodes of 25 hands?
Five episodes of,
I don't know.
Oh, I thought it was 150 hands.
Yeah, 30. So I guess 30-ish.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay, so 30. But
okay. Yeah. Don't do math on air.
Whatever. I can't apparently at all. Like, so.
If I've learned anything.
I don't have to worry about that.
Don't do math on air.
Nope.
I don't know where to go to from here. I feel like.
Are you guys going to the meetup game tomorrow?
Yeah, I want to. I don't want to like stand on the line though. So if you could just put my name at the top of the list. I don't know who I have to. I'm with the band.
If we get there early, then that.
Oh, like how early?
Okay, so the way it works right now, there is a list, just a singular list that you can call and put your name on.
Okay.
I believe
not like split into stakes, just like a single list.
It's just a meetup game list.
Okay.
And I believe tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, they go live on Atlas, which once that happens,
it's like a free for all.
I think at 6 p.m. it'll become like a free, like the games will already be open,
right?
Segregated by stake, and now I believe you'll be able to choose.
And then you guys like rotate tables to like.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of us.
How long are you scheduled to be there?
Till midnight.
Oh shit! Okay.
Long night.
Yeah.
A lot of giveaways. Doing like, I don't know if they're bomb pots or high cards or.
I want to get on this list.
Do you know that someone had told me this yesterday? I haven't verified it, but I think they're right. That for the entire month of August, Venetian's tournaments have no rake.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
I double check it, but that's what I was told.
Also, until the December or something,
end of the year,
you get $3 an hour in comps.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, not that I'm a Venetian spokesperson now, but I just watched the episode yesterday. So I have all the talking points in my brain.
The $3 an hour is enticing to me, but the fact that you can use it at Canyon Ranch Spa is really the way.
That I had no idea you could do until.
Like, I get a ton of comps at Bellagio, but they're really strict about just only letting me eat.
Use it.
Yeah.
They're just like, you can go to Prime. I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't like food. Can I get a massage? Fuck no. Absolutely not.
Well, all my Venetian comps would go to bringing carrot cake home for Jamin, so. You know.
Oh, he's so weird, man. How do you do it?
I mean, he's eccentric. He's eccentric.
Oh, right, yes.
And very funny and handsome and wonderful. So, and that's.
He stopped watching an hour ago, Lily.
You can say my God, he's the worst. Can someone buy him out of our house so I don't have to live with him anymore?
You know what? I will say the aftermath of the big game has been interesting because I wasn't sure like how much of a reach. Like I knew it would be like big. The PokerStars is big, and like the relaunch was big, but you don't really consider the numbers on the page to be like people until you like see them. So my episodes came out right before WSOP and during WSOP, during the first month of WSOP. So every table I sat at, they had watched it. And like some of them would make jokes like, oh, I know how you play now. So or whatever. But yeah, like I had a completely different demographic of following or people that I would never have expected to know me, not in a million years, like old Russian dudes, like they're just like sitting there, and you sit down at a table, like, and this was like every tournament, so you first sit down at a table and like people are playing serious or whatever, and then like out of nowhere an old Russian dude would be like, you shouldn't have run it twice. He's like, I was rooting for you. Other than that, you played well. And they were like, and there was multiple times. Like sometimes I played cash at the Nugget, like right after I busted like one of the tournaments there, and I was playing cash at the Nugget, and it was just like I don't know, a 1-2 table, and it was all older men, like beer drinking, like Midwestern looking guys, and we were playing, and I always like to like figure out everyone's names, and like I'm always trying to banter with everything. That's how I like to play poker. I like live poker because of that. And so like at the end of the night, I'm like, all right, bye Billy, I'll get my money from you later, Tim, or whatever. And I was like, I'm Nikki, by the way. I hadn't said my name yet, and they're like, oh, we know who you are. I was like, geez, oh, like I would never have expected. Younger people, maybe I expect it sometimes. Like they watch Solve for Why, they watch,
I think the opposite. I think older demo watches a lot of like poker.
Yes, but not on YouTube. Like I've never played on streams before. Like I don't play on poker things that they're watching. I have a podcast, but like I doubt that they listen to it. And so like this was like the first time I've been on a wide, broad demographic in poker where like I sit at a table and anybody there could have seen it, and they probably have, and it was a condensed version of like, because everyone's here for WSOP, so a lot of the numbers that were on that screen were sitting in that room, and that was just like kind of surreal to like have so many people. Like I would just be sitting in the hallway and just random dudes from all demographics just like, hey, that Jack 10 hand, like high five. It's just like, whoa, that's wild.
I really don't enjoy when people know who I am.
Yeah.
Especially because you don't know who knows who you are.
Right.
You know, like I was sitting at a win, and not like I'm well known in poker, which is why I never know if someone knows who I am.
You're the Cannon.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was at the table the other day, and some person next to me just goes, "You're Lily, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And that was it. Never said anything else to me again. And I was just like,
Great intro.
awkward. Like,
intro.
This makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was used to it outside of the poker world before, and I don't really enjoy it either. There's been times where it got really scary, but like in the middle of grocery stores, just like someone randomly coming up and putting their hands around my eyes, and it's just like, I love your videos. And I'm like, I don't know you. That's crazy. You're wild.
Grabbed
like,
your head?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. It was terrifying. I was like, oh, it's probably a friend, right? You know, I was like, guess who? And like, I don't know. You know, Sarah. And then she's like, it's me. And I'm like, I don't know you.
Yes.
Check your videos.
Jamin always says that to me because his vlog has a lot of his life in it and has over the years. And he says that, like, you know, a lot of his viewers view them as
parasocial
friends.
Relationship,
yeah, but he doesn't know anything about them, but they know everything about him.
And they think because they're watching you every day that they think it seems like
it's
you're
mutual.
You're in their living room every day, or their bedroom, or wherever they are, and so it's weird to them that you don't recognize them right away. It's very weird. And then when I got into poker, I was like, wow, no one knows me here. And I got in during the pandemic, so like we were wearing masks, and I'm like, no one really doesn't know me here. Like it's awesome. I'm like, it's just me and the cards and whatever I studied at home, and like nobody knows me, and I could make up whatever backstory I want. And now it's like the dream is dead. Like,
right. That's the nice thing for me about playing primarily online is that people don't really know if I win or that I even play because I don't take winners photos.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? So it's like
be under the radar the whole time.
And it's nice. I mean, we're not living in an era where you really get sponsorships, so it doesn't matter if anyone knows if you win or not, you know, in some sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And Jamin always encourages me. He's like, don't post, like fly under the radar. Like you don't need people to know if you're winning.
Do you plan on playing much live anymore?
Well, so the reason I actually started playing online so much is that, you know, I have a 14-year-old son, and so that was my primary reason, was like, especially like on the weekends, like I don't want to play multi-day tournaments. Like I have him 5 days a week. And so that's hard. And then on top of it, about, you know, a little less than a year ago, I decided to go into my family's business, which is media. Yeah. And I'm editing for a newspaper group. And so I drop Ace off at school. I work 8:30 to 1:30. Then I go pick him up, and I kind of have a normal life. And that's why I've just kind of been playing nightlies, and then, or you know, whatever, like live here and there. And then WSOP has, you know, circuit series like feels like once a month. Yeah. So I just grind those, and when they don't have anything, like when they don't have any circuits or bracelets events, I just don't play online, and that's kind of how I manage it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So like no cash really, just mainly sticking to MTTs.
That's the thing is, I played cash for up until the pandemic, and then all the cash rooms closed, and I started just playing online tournaments because online cash is really tough to beat, and also I don't find it that entertaining. And so then beginning of 2021, I started studying tournaments, and then I didn't really want to go back to cash because I was like, my brain is in tournaments, and I'm not studying cash, which I know is not viable. And also, if I'm not playing frequently, the swings feel pretty big.
Yeah.
So that's why now, even if I only have a couple hours, I'm just like, I shy away from cash because I don't feel prepared to play it.
Did you get more of the itch after Big Game, Nikki?
To play cash?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I started in cash, and like I know that there's a lot more to learn, obviously, and I'm not like unaware of that. But whenever I bust a tournament, tournaments are really sad to me. It's because you're like not cashing as frequently as
they're brutal.
You're right, and so it's still hard for me to make my brain change to that variance.
Yeah.
So I always go play cash after and make up my buy-in, and it's like a bankroll hack, in my opinion. And during the WSOP, the cash games in my stakes are pretty good. Like the games are good. So I was having a lot of fun playing cash during this series, and definitely had the itch after, because playing on that, I don't know, on that level, and then like you're putting in black chips like they're pennies. Like in my games, like the black chips are like the highest chip
They're
denomination.
very coveted.
Yeah, and like I never get a stack of black chips like that high. I mean, if I do, it's like, wow, what a great session this is, or I'm breaking even now. Like finally I got myself out of the hole. But like to just fling them in there like they're friggin' pennies is like, that vision is in my head as like a new like dream board
that was
type of
truly
thing.
the day that I realized I could never go back, and something had changed.
Yeah.
Where I started to look at $100 chips with the same, like, I detest.
Disdain?
I detested them the same way I do $5 chips in like a 5-10 game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like if you're down to your black chips, you're doing pretty bad right now.
It's just, like, so I'm always of the opinion that the games that you play in cash games specifically should lend themselves to the highest denomination chips. So like if you're playing 10-20, you should be using $20 chips. If you're playing 5-10, $10 chips. If you're playing, 500 1K, like, $500 chips, 1K chips, whatever. So even though I'm playing a 100 game, which means black chips are very much necessary, the average pot size is like 5 to 10K. So it's mostly just like 500 1K chips that you're betting with. And I just loathe like
they're like
staring at like a pile of black chips where it's like I have 100,000 in front of me, and like I just have these mounds and mounds and mounds of blacks that I will never functionally use outside of putting the blinds in.
It's like having a rack of $1 chips.
Exactly. In like
why?
a 2-5 game or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like you will never use these chips outside of putting the exact blinds in.
And you can't even tip with them.
Right now when I do like visualizations and stuff, I think in that mindset where I'm looking at black chips like, ew.
Yeah, gross.
Gross. Out of my sight, unless you're yellow or above.
Right. Where are the 1Ks? I'm sick by this.
Sick. Disgusting.
Jesse understands. He plays limit.
We use the smallest denomination chips possible.
You guys have
we have
weird
the
colored
biggest
chips.
pots.
I was like looking and there's gray.
A little bit, yeah.
No,
actually a good bit.
Explain to them what you do. This is sick and twisted.
We did a ASOS episode on this, by the way. Check it out at Effer.
Yeah, we've covered this concept a lot with Nikki. She had an intervention for me.
Rightfully so. And you deserve another one.
His mom was there.
I remember. That was
Ashley's
actually
grandma.
a fucking fantastic skit, by the way.
Yeah, it was great.
Ashley was in as well, if I recall.
She calls in.
That's
Okay, that's right.
She was there, but like in the bit, she called in. Everyone left voicemails for him to listen to.
Just incredible. Yeah, I think it's very sick and twisted that you purposefully use small chips in order to just make the pots look bigger.
Well, I don't purposely use small chips.
Sure. Why don't
If I was in charge, we'd be using even smaller chips. Raking in a 100+ chip pot feels very good. When they're not stacked up.
You could be the change you'd like to see. You could just show up tomorrow with a rack of larger denomination chips and say, what?
I don't think he wants to see that change.
I want to see that change.
That's why you don't play limit.
And whenever there's
One
like
of many reasons.
when there's a ruckus in the poker room and like people are fighting, like yelling top of their lungs, you turn
Limit
around,
game.
it's always the limit
Always
players.
the limit game.
Oh yeah.
Just feel
well, no, it's mixed games specifically.
Yes.
They will be calling each other terrible names, and they haven't even started the game yet. They're just choosing which placards are being used.
When
in
I
the
was
game.
playing the other night,
It's insanity. They're like,
Yes.
no, you got 3 of your game last time, and then the guy's like, yeah, well, you slept with my wife, and it's like some crazy shit.
when I was playing, they were yelling. This guy was yelling top of his lungs because the dealer pushed him the pot the wrong way. And like
That-
he's getting
yeah.
this massive pot, and he was like, "Why would you push it to me like that? Like, you won, bro! Like imagine being that mad and you won."
Yeah. God forbid the dealer breathes or blinks
He was
or.
pissed.
Imagine being in that string where like you know that you're about to go to a mixed game and just like quitting on the spot. Just like, you know what? No, not today, Satan. I'm out.
I really want to learn mixed games though. That was my goal this year, and it's getting pushed to next year. I started learning PLO and like some off no limit games, but like I really want to be just like an old smoking mixed game player with like sagging tits and like just like a visor and like
That is quite the visual you painted. Don't worry.
There's
just, like-
actually a cartoon in my head of like what this
that's
looks like.
my dream.
Yeah.
You're the childless cat lady.
That's after like my whole phase where I touched some black chips like and then I
right.
retire into my
Right.
mixed game era where I'm like
And then you watch horse
the
races in
cats are crawling
between.
all over me. Exactly.
To be fair, every woman that I've come in contact with that like is a mixed game grinder that sometimes staggers their way into Bobby's room just to see what's going on. Beer in hand, 100% of the time, just feeling it, having a good old time out there, min clicking away. Oh, what are you boys doing in here? You ain't playing the big bet games, huh?
Those are my idols.
Yeah, they're out there just killing it, no big deal. All right, let's get out of here on this one. What do you guys got coming up that's worth plugging? When do we get more ace holes?
Oh, we're purposely putting it off just to build the anticipation.
Yes,
is the saying
I understand
about that.
how this works. For sure.
Right. So we are trying to figure that out because Kayla lives in a different state, and we tried to do remote, and it was just like not working. So we're planning the next season. It'll integrate more sketches too. Like I think that's just easier for us to do in separate states, but like. WPT is coming up in December, so we'll try to get some more interviews going.
NAPT in November.
Yeah, NAPT.
Will you two be doing loose cannon coaching?
I don't know. We haven't.
I hope
that would
so.
be
That'd
fun.
be
That
Can we
would
get
really be
Lamanna
fun.
on as a loose cannon?
I would love that.
The tight cannon.
He
Yeah.
would be fucking incredible.
That would be good.
I mean, Conrad deserves to be it, but
Yeah, for sure.
Conrad's way better for TV, but
Yeah.
but
But
for
I
all
would
the,
love to
but
see
for all
Lamanna.
the obvious reasons.
Yes.
Brian would be so perfect as a loose cannon.
I
for
agree.
all the non-obvious reasons.
Yes, just to watch him be in a pickle.
Oh, to watch him look down at kings and just shock in horror that he got dealt his hand, looking around the room, taking inventory, just it would be so incredibly good. What about you, Lily? You got anything coming up?
I'm co-hosting with Kinda, the Poker News podcast next week.
Nice.
And then I've got 8th grade coming up. And
Perfect.
The dog park. So.
God bless.
8th grade.
Oh my God, I know.
Wow.
All right. If you guys are in the area, be sure to stop down the Venetian tomorrow. Their grand opening begins at 6 p.m. Pacific time. We'll all be there playing loose cannon per usual in the meetup games. So I think we're going to be spreading stakes from 1-3 up. I'm going to, try really, 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 really hard to get an uncapped game going. Don't care what the stakes are. Just I need to have a little fun too. So if you guys are around, be sure to stop in. As they had already previously mentioned, $3 comps for every hour that you play, and you can use those on massages. That's going to do it for us today. Thank you both for joining us. Jesse, as always, for being a special guest. We'll be back tomorrow with Matt Hunt. We're going to be discussing the new GTO Wizard post-flop ICM release that's coming out on their platform and what that's going to do to tournament poker. We'll see you guys all noon Pacific.
Later, squad.
Peace.